welcome to Stories by Greg Kerns. Today I'll be reading Flags. In this story, we're going to hear about Derrius, a former D1 athlete and flag football captain who faces a difficult choice when his loyalty to his team collides with his growing love of a woman from a rival side. He feels torn between his roots and a future that challenges his beliefs. Will Derrius be able to reconcile these two worlds and find redemption, or will his inability to choose cost him everything? We won't know until the end, so sit back and enjoy Flags. In the game of life, which side are you on? The roar of the crowd echoed across the city park as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows on the makeshift football field. It was the championship game of the Atlanta City Flag Football League, a contest of grit, pride, and rivalry. On one side, the Bankhead Ballers, led by former D1 quarterback Derrius. On the other, the Riverside Drive Demons with their flashy jerseys and star player Mitchell. The air was thick with tension. The game came down to the final play. The Ballers were leading, but the Demons were closing in fast. Mitchell hurled a pass downfield, and as his receiver lunged forward, he shoved Raphael, Derrius' teammate, to the ground. Blatant offensive pass interference. Yet the referee's whistle stayed silent. Touchdown Riverside, the Demons won. Raphael stormed off the field, furious. Derrius, man, you gotta say something. That was dirty. But Derrius, ever the sportsman, shook his head. The game's over. They played hard. Let it go. Raphael's glare was piercing. Whose side are you on? Later, someone showed Derrius video evidence of the foul. Still, he refused to report it. His team from the rough streets of Bankhead deserved justice. Yet he chose the high road, praising the Demon's skill instead. The decision sat heavy in his chest, and so began the unraveling. Months passed. Derrius spiraled into depression, haunted by his inaction. Once a rising star, now he was unemployed, fired from his marketing job for poor performance. Life felt like an endless cycle of missed opportunities until he met Melinda. She worked at a staffing agency, her sharp eyes catching the depth of his struggle. You don't just need a job, she said, her voice kind yet firm. You need to believe in yourself again. Her kindness threw Derrius off guard. Used to being underestimated for his Bankhead roots, he expected pity or dismissal, not genuine encouragement. But Melinda wasn't just any staffing agent. Raised in a wealthy Riverside Drive household, she had chosen to work with underserved communities, finding purpose in helping people unlock their potential. Their connection blossomed. Later, Derrius called her, inventing an excuse to see her again. Over dinner, they discovered a shared history as former D1 athletes. Melinda had been a soccer star competing on a national stage. Despite their different sports, they bonded over the discipline and sacrifice athletics demanded, especially at the D1 level. As their relationship deepened, Melinda introduced Derrius to a world he'd never known. Elegant dinners, museum galas, and quiet nights in her chic Riverside apartment revealed a life of privilege he couldn't imagine. At first, he felt out of place, a Bankhead boy trying to fit into her polished world. But Melinda saw his discomfort and gently eased his insecurity. It's not about where you're from, she said one night, holding his hand. It's about where you're going. You've got the drive to go anywhere. In turn, Derrius showed Melinda his world, the vibrant streets of Bankhead, filled with music, resilience, and community. They visited his childhood park, where kids still played flag football with tattered jerseys and mismatched cleats. He explained how the game wasn't just a pastime. It was a lifeline for kids like him, a way to channel energy, ambition, and hope. One afternoon, as they walked through Bankhead, Melinda bought ice cream for a group of kids playing in the park. Watching her laugh and joke with them, Derrius felt something shift. She wasn't just kind, she was genuine. She didn't see him as a project. She saw him. You're amazing, he said softly. So are you, she replied, smiling. Their love grew, fueled by mutual admiration and a willingness to bridge their worlds. When Derrius hesitated to reassemble the Ballers, it was Melinda who pushed him. Why not, she asked. You made it to the championship. Don't you want another shot? Encouraged by her belief in him, Derrius rallied his team. The Ballers returned, storming through the season undefeated, but their love faced its first test when Melinda invited him to a party, and Derrius discovered her connection to Riverside Drive. Though he stayed cordial, the tension simmered. At practice, Raphael confronted him. "You're dating one of them, aren't you? Are you even on our side?" Derrius defended Melinda, explaining how she changed his perspective, but the question lingered. Where did his allegiance lie? The league scandal about the missed call escalated their conflict. Late one night, Derrius and Melinda argued in bed. "They should have been punished," he said. "It's not that big of a deal," she replied dismissively. The rift widened, exposing their socioeconomic differences. She didn't fully understand what it meant for Derrius to carry Bankhead's pride on his shoulders. He couldn't reconcile her indifference. They broke up. Derrius channeled his energy into football with a renewed focus and intensity that even his teammates hadn't seen before. The sting of heartbreak and the weight of unfinished business pushed him to become not just a better player, but a better leader. Every morning before sunrise, he hit the local gym, hammering out punishing workouts designed to build strength and agility. He ran sprints until his legs burned, visualizing every play, every route, and every tackle he needed to make to get his team to the championship. Beyond the physical, Derrius also worked on the mental side of the game. He studied game footage with precision of a scientist, breaking down plays from previous seasons, identifying his team's weakness, and dissecting their opponent's strategies. He'd call his teammates late at night, sharing his insight and ideas of how they could improve. The calls weren't always well received. Raphael once groaned, "Man, do you ever sleep? Stop calling my house late at night." But they all recognized his determination and followed his lead. At practice, Derrius pushed the Ballers harder than ever. Drills were run with military precision, and no detail was too small to escape his notice. "Hit your mark," he barked at the receivers as they practiced running their routes. "Stay sharp, stay focused." His intensity was contagious, lifting the entire team's game. Off the field, Derrius doubled down on building team camaraderie. He organized team dinners, knowing that unity off the field translated to chemistry on it. He even hosted a film night at his place, showing motivational sports movies and interspersing them with clips of their own highlights. By the time the playoffs began, the Bankhead Ballers weren't just prepared, they were a force to be reckoned with. Under Derrius's leadership, they entered the postseason with one mission: redemption. The Ballers dominated the playoffs, advancing to face Riverside in the championship rematch. On the field, insults from Riverside players fueled his resolve. With fire in his eyes, Derrius led his team to a decisive victory, proving their worth beyond doubt. Weeks later, as the warm spring sun filtered through the trees, Derrius found himself drawn to the familiar basketball court near his old neighborhood. The court had always been a place of clarity for him, a sanctuary where he could lose himself in the rhythm of the game and let the world's chaos fade. He dribbled the ball absent-mindedly, reliving the championship win in his mind, but the ache of Melinda's absence still lingered, heavy and unresolved. Melinda stood at the far side of the court, leaning against the chain-link fence, a small smile tugging at her lips. She was wearing casual workout clothes, her hair pulled in a loose ponytail. The sight of her hit him harder than he had anticipated. She hadn't said anything yet, but the expression on her face, the mix of vulnerability and determination, spoke volumes. "Hey, stranger," she called out, her voice tinged with nervousness. Derrius stopped dribbling and raised an eyebrow, trying to keep his emotions in check. "Didn't think I'd see you here." "I didn't think I'd come," she admitted, walking onto the court. She hesitated for a moment before smiling sheepishly. "You were right. I was wrong." Derrius let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head. "It's not about being right, Mel." "I know," she said, stepping closer, but it is about listening and about understanding. And I didn't do that. I downplayed what it meant to you, to your team, to your community. I see it now, and I'm sorry." The sincerity in her voice broke through his defenses. "You taught me a lot too," he said quietly, "about seeing things from another perspective, about believing in myself when I couldn't. You changed the way I see the world." She grinned, her smile lighting up her face. "You only taught me one thing, but it was big." "Oh yeah?" Derrius asked, his curiosity piqued. "What's that?" "You taught me what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself, to stand for something even when it's hard. You're stubborn, Derrius, but you've got heart, and that's everything." Her words hung in the air, filling in the space between them with something unspoken but deeply felt. Derrius wanted to reach out to close the gap, but he hesitated. Melinda broke the silence with a playful smirk. "So you gonna just stand there, or are you ready to lose?" Derrius's competitive nature kicked in, and he grinned back. "Lose to you? Not a chance." She laughed, grabbing the ball from his hand with surprising speed. "Well, guess we'll see." The game started with their usual banter, but as they moved across the court, the tension melted away. Melinda's quick footwork and sharp moves kept Derrius on his toes, while his power and precision tested her endurance. The score didn't matter. It was the easy laughter, the shared grins, and the way they fell back into their rhythm that made the moment special. At one point, Melinda faked a shot and scored effortlessly, throwing her arms up in triumph. "Still think you can beat me, Mr. Big Shot?" Derrius shook his head, laughing. "You got lucky. Don't let it go to your head." The sun dipped lower as their game continued, casting long shadows on the court. The world outside seemed to fade, leaving just the two of them and the sound of sneakers on asphalt. They weren't just playing basketball. They were rebuilding something they both thought might be lost. Finally, as the game wound down and they caught their breath, Melinda sat down, her face flushed and her smile wide. "You know," she said, "we might never agree on what the real football is, but I think we make a pretty good team." Derrius nodded, stepping closer. "Yeah, we do." Their love wasn't perfect. It was messy, shaped by differences and tested by challenges. But in that moment, as the city lights flickered on and their laughter echoed across the empty court, it felt real. It felt right. And as they stood together with the ball forgotten at their feet, Derrius knew that their story, like the game, was far from over. Thank you for listening to Stories by Greg Kerns. I hope you enjoyed Flags, a story about love, loyalty, and redemption in the world of competitive flag football. If you're interested in reading more stories like this, be sure to visit gregkerns.tv. You'll find even more narratives that explore the intersections of identity, relationships, and ambition. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you next time.